Monday Morning Business Boost, brought to you by Monroe County Radio and Tino Amaya State Farm Insurance Agency. I'm your host, Tino Amaya, and I've got an exciting show for you today. I'm going to sit down and have a great discussion with my good friend, Todd Williams. Todd is a two-time Olympic athlete. He still holds a U.S. record for running. Todd is just an absolute amazing athlete. He now is owner of Monroe Jitsu here in downtown Monroe. He also is the owner of the RunSafer program. And we're going to talk to him about what RunSafer is. We're going to talk to him about Monroe Jiu-Jitsu. We're going to talk to him about, how COVID has really affected his business. Because I think, oftentimes we forget about these, the gyms, the daycares, some of the other businesses. We think about restaurants. We think about all the businesses that have really been in the news in the forefront. The major gyms, the Planet Fitnesses, the GoMads, things like that people are like, hey, wow, they're suffering because, they're shut down. But what about these guys that have these small independent gyms, martial arts schools, maybe a CrossFit gym that, really was seeing some great growth, looking like they were just having a great start to the year, and then it all come to a crashing halt. So we're going to sit down and have a very candid discussion with my good friend Todd. Todd is, just a ball of energy. So I'm really looking forward to this conversation. So say, welcome to Todd Williams, my good friend, joining us on today's show. And then why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Did you grow up in Monroe? Where'd you go to high school? I know where you went to high school. I mean, it's clearly displayed. But tell our viewers a little bit about yourself, and then what made you choose the business you're in right now.
Let's see. I was just thinking about my shirt too, because I got my shirt on too. Stay safe, Detroit. But you know what it says on the back?
I know what it says on the back.
And we're going to keep that for the end of the show. And
perfect.
That's how we're going to finish this show today.
Sounds good. I love it.
Okay, so anyway, Todd Williams. I'm from Monroe, Michigan. I went to Monroe High School, graduated in 1987. Worked my can off and earned a full scholarship to run at University of Tennessee. Finished up my career there in 1991. Signed a professional contract to run for Adidas to be able to compete all around the world. And, I was blessed to be able to do that from 1991 until 2002. Retired from professional running, and then started my jiu-jitsu career in 2002. And, and I went through the roller coaster of life with some different jobs and sales and different things that I worked hard. And then after 10 years of training, I earned my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. And kind of a fast forward, I ended up when my kids got into college, I decided, I want to move back home. And I love the Midwest. I love Monroe, Michigan. And, my kids were older, so I made the move back to Monroe in 2016. And then I made the big decision to open up a business downtown Monroe, which is Monroe Jiu-Jitsu. And I've had a blast. A lot of people have asked me, like, man, why would you move from Florida and the beaches and the beautiful spot? Like, we were close to Ponte Vedra, and there's just a beautiful, beautiful place down there. It's because I love Monroe, and I love my friends here. I love so many things about it, and I know some people are on the negative side, but since I've been back home, I've seen a lot of great things happen. I've seen a lot of hard workers. I've seen a lot of people trying to make it, dedicating themselves. And 16, 17 until now, I'm teaching people, I'm influencing people, making a positive impact every single day. And even through this time, as you know, I'm trying to help everybody I can in Monroe and try to stay in a positive mindset. Now, saying that, there have been some tough days. And that's not, everybody's like, how are you so upbeat all the time? I'm like,
not every day. Well, you know what? So I have to say this, man. So I met you through a mutual friend, Sean Falk. And here's how that whole thing went down. And if you know Sean, if anyone knows Sean, Sean's a great connector of people. I've met some of the best people through Sean. And even going back when I first started my insurance agency 17 years ago, going on 18 years ago now, Sean connected me with so many people, and I'm still doing business with a lot of them today. But so Sean reaches out to me and he says, Todd Williams, you know him? This was the message I got on Messenger. Todd Williams, you know him? And I go, no, who is he? Olympic runner. Ring a bell? Nope. Sorry, Sean. I don't know who he is. Sean says, he's from Monroe. He's a jiu-jitsu black belt. You still don't know him? And I said, Sean, do you know how many jiu-jitsu black belts are out there? Like, I don't know the guy, man. Like, what's the deal? He's like,
Right.
You need to know him. However, he's super intense. Just remember I said that.
Yeah,
and you know what? So you are super intense. And it's, I'll tell you what, man, it's a blessing. Because, I mean, I can understand where some people would say, Todd, are you seriously always this upbeat? But, you know, maybe in the quiet places at home when you and Linz are by yourself, you know, maybe that's when you're kind of like, you know, down. But when you're out in the community, man, you are a true champion for Monroe. And it's been a blessing to get to know you. It truly has. I mean, you're just the epitome of a great coach. You really are.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, especially coming from a small community, great people like you and some of the others over the last 3 years, and plus, you know, having family and friends here, it's like we only get one chance in life, right? It's like got to help as many people as we can and make our community better. And you know, now that we're being challenged with this, that's the only option that I see. I want everybody to come out of this the best they possibly can. And I know it's tough and it's a grind, but I would much rather pass the positive mindset and the thoughts like, hey man, how can I help you? How can I get other people to help you? What can we do for each other to get through this? Because I can see how easy it would be for somebody to stay down and get depressed and not think there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But we're starting to see it. You know, We're starting to come out of it. And even if we go through some other bumps and bruises, we're still, you know, we're going to get through this.
Yeah. Yeah. And so let me ask you this. So why Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? I mean, I know you're a competitor and I, you know, you're my coach. For those of you that don't know, I've been practicing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a long time and Todd is my coach. But what made you, I mean, I know what drew me to it, but what drew you to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at that time when you were kind of retiring from running?
You know, it's a funny story. You know, here in Monroe, I started with swimming when I was 4 years old at the YMCA. And then I got into wrestling, Palestro Club at Monroe High School with Coach Dave Strini. He was the head coach at that time. I can't believe I remember that name from 1975. But he was my coach. And then I got into the other sports and, you know, then I went into the running. But what drew me to jiu-jitsu, I was honestly going to take off since I was in all those sports from age 4 all the way to age 32, 33. I was going to take like a year off and not do anything, which that lasted about 2 days. Right?
Knowing you, I believe that.
Yeah. So I'm going, I said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to become a bodybuilder. That was my thing. It's like, I'm going to become a bodybuilder at age 33. Right. So I'm going down to the gym to pump it out, you know, 5 sets of 5, you know, trying to get big. And to my right, I looked over by the gym and it said Gracie Baja, Progressive Martial Arts, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And I'm like, that's the UFC stuff. You know, that's the UFC stuff, right? So I just took a right that day instead of going straight. You know, that was what happened. It's like, I'm going to walk in this gym and I don't know really what it is. I wrestled before, you know, and I watched UFC. I think I can probably, you know, I'm from Monroe, so I'm like, I know I can throw a bomb, you know. So I go in there and there's this little Brazilian guy, Elio Seneca Moreira, was, you know, world champion, 150 pounds, little, you know, just a spark plug, right? Nobody was at the afternoon class because in 2002, there wasn't really many people doing jiu-jitsu, right? He goes, you want to try? And I can't do his accent. You do a better accent than me. And so he gives me this gi, you know, and I put the gi on, and that was weird, you know, at the start, like, you know, putting a white belt on. And I get out into the mat, and he shows me like a takedown, shows me one punch defense, and then he goes, do you want to spar? And I'm like, yeah, let's do it. You know, and I'm like, all I could think of is like double leg, hold him down, and try to pin him. and I'm going, and that's taking it back to 6, 7 years old, right? Like, this is what I do. And so I tried to double leg. He spun to my back and just, did a nice submission, and that was it for me. Like, I'm like, he just totally, I don't know what happened just now, but I got to come back to this. And he goes, do you think you want to sign up? And I go, I'm going to sign up right now. So I sign up. I came back that night and I started going twice a day.
Wow.
And then it's just such a great, as you know, man, you've been going at it longer than I have in jiu-jitsu, and you've been on the mat. There's so much to jiu-jitsu that we don't even have enough time to explain how important it is to people's lives, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's an amazing art, and I've met so many great people through it. And it's just something I can't explain.
Well, you know what? And that's the weird thing about jiu-jitsu. And I just had this conversation with my cousin the other day. We were talking about it, and it's a weird brotherhood. Like I can go, I used to have business in Miami, and I would fly to Miami 2-3 times a year. And, I would train with Pablo Popovich and some of his guys. And then a couple of his teammates, they opened their own school. And so then I would fly down there, and these guys, every time you walk in, they're like, hey, Tino, like they just know who you are. And it's just a really weird brotherhood, that if you're a good training partner, if you have great intentions, if you're not being a jerk, they really just kind of like suck you in, and you can go anywhere in the country, walk in with a gi on and catch an open roll or something, And so what was the mission when you decided, all right, I'm going to open this school in Monroe? What was the overall mission of your business? What did you kind of want to teach people here or really show with your art?
Well, I guess I jumped over a huge part of my life and my professional career is when I also, received my earned my black belt, earned my black belt from Luis Fajares, is I also had in my mind a business plan since I had my Olympic running background, where I wanted to keep joggers, runners, walkers safe while they went out for their activities. So I created a company called RunSafer. So I was blessed to be able to, I've been blessed to be able to travel the United States and go into different running stores and do different presentations on the importance of staying safe while you're out being active. And so that company of mine took off in 2012, with the support of ASICS and some other sponsors that really helped me travel and spread the word about safety. So when I did get back home, my initial idea when I met with Ken Wickenheiser in the space that I have downtown is I really wanted to have that gym as an extension for self-defense and safety of the citizens of Monroe and surrounding areas. So initially I didn't know I was even going to have a competition team. I didn't even know who was going to show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
and you know what? You guys are killing it. I mean, let's be honest here. For some of the teams you guys are going up against, and this is what I mean by you being such a great coach. Like you said, I've been especially here in Michigan, I've been connected to all these schools for a long time since 1997. And so, I see the guys at Warrior Way, Chris Blanky's school, a lot of the teams that are around, the big boys that are around. And to see your guys after 6 months, after a year, just absolutely going in and dominating these competitions. I was blown away. I was like, wow, man, these kids, and even training with them, because I take time off. I mean, I can't train regularly, but I even told you, when I did come back, I said, holy cow, man, these guys in just 3 months are night and day different. Now, is that because of your Olympic background? Is that just because of the training regimen that you're used to? Because, dude, you're intense. You are intense.
I think it's because people can read how genuine you are about anything that you do. Like when I walk into Amaya's restaurant, I can tell you, from day one that you guys want to be great.
Yeah.
So and that's, and I'm not just saying that. You can tell, like in any industry, any discipline, anything, when you meet somebody, you can tell right away, like, man, is this guy just doing it for a couple dollars? Is he just here just wasting time? And I think when my students come in or somebody visits Monroe Jiu-Jitsu, they're like, man, this guy wants me to be better today. Right now is when I want you to be better. And then that carries on to the next day. and they can see how hard I work. They can see me studying. They can see me bringing in. That's another thing that I love about what I've done so far, and what the city of Monroe has helped me do, is bring in some of the best talent in the world to Monroe Jiu-Jitsu, so we can bring other people from other parts of the state and other parts of this region to come visit Monroe and visit.
Yeah, because you just had world champion JT Torres. I mean, you've had Mikey I can't even say his last name. Musameshi. Yeah. I mean,
hey, if you noticed, I threw a little Italian on there. Did you see that?
You did.
Musameshi.
But so again, I mean, talk about really trying to these guys don't just go anywhere. It's not like it's easy to get on their calendar.
Right.
And you have, from day one, you said, hey, I want to have, and I know this, you and I have talked about it. You said, hey, I want to have world champions coming in here, and I want to have world champions, giving great instruction. But not only that, but you're also doing stuff with the police department. You have a women's self-defense. How did the police department come about? How did that work into what you're doing?
It's through the great relationships that I've built, and the friends that I've had for years, with Mac at the police department. So I've known Max since we were young. And, when I first moved in town, he said, what are you doing? Then I opened the gym up, and I said, jiu-jitsu is something you really need to think about having your officers, participate in and come learn some instruction. And so a year went by or so, and then got more and more into it. Then we had this discussion to have some of the officers come in. So now I have the relationship where I'm teaching, once per quarter they come in for 8 hours, and we're going through, different scenarios and situations that they might find themselves in. But it's been a great partnership between Monroe Jiu-Jitsu and Monroe Police Department. So I see that going nowhere but up in the future with that relationship. And then as well as the women's self-defense, because the reason that I wanted to start that is because a lot of people stop at the door and will never come in when they see a gi or when they see a uniform. It's just not, some people don't like it, so this way I can have people come in and they don't have to worry about, some females don't like a situation where there's males there and so on and so on. So this way they can come in with their street clothes. They can learn some technique where, grip breaking, headlock escapes, punch defense, safety tips to keep them out of physical confrontation potentially. And so that's growing. And, and that's the thing about this situation. Everything was going like this, man. And then this happened. So as soon as I was down in Florida visiting my daughters, and I was actually at the last golf tournament that the PGA offered, which was the Players Championship. We were there on Thursday when they shut everything started shutting.
Wow.
Yeah. So as soon as we got back from the course that day, I already started thinking about my Monroe Police Department, my women's self-defense, my students like you. What can I do right now to put these guys in the mindset, hey, man, keep looking forward. We're going to get through this. Because I got a lot of text and phone calls and messages like, are you going to, especially a couple weeks in, like, how long can you make it?
Yeah.
Right? And you got the same question too, I'm sure. Like,
oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And I said, I'm going to make it. We're going to make it. And I'm not even looking at that other side. That's not even an option. So, back to your question about, Monroe Police Department, I'm going to keep doing things that are special and to make people safer, and also at the same time introduce them to the amazing art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, because that's what it is, man.
You know what it is? It is an amazing art, and I'm always excited when I see people that are trying it for the first time, because you're right. Jiu-Jitsu is one of those things. Excuse me, I got a frog in my throat today. But Jiu-Jitsu is one of those things where, you try it one time, and if you get with the right, coach, the right person, man, you're hooked. I mean, you are hooked for. I have friends that are like, Nate Cole is one of those guys that, the first time he came into a gym and, got on the mat and tried it, he was wore out. I still can see Nate laying on the mat, and you know how hairy and sweaty he is, just a sopping mess laying there looking up. And he was like, hey, I'll be back tomorrow. Like, okay, we'll see you tomorrow.
And now Nate, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah, It's 2008, so 12 years later. Yeah.
12 years. He's a black belt, and he's a great instructor. He's helping out at Monroe Jiu-Jitsu. And yeah, that's a good story, because he's one of the guys that as soon as he walked in, he was never going to stop. He was never going to stop.
Yeah. So let's talk about the pandemic for a minute. You kind of started touching on it, and yeah, your business. And like I said, I mean, I go back and forth to LA now because my son's out there, but I left. I was gone for about maybe a month. I come back and I walk in, and the gym is packed. I mean, you got like 20, 25 guys on the gym, and then you do like your family night. So you've got, people, husbands and wives training together, which I think is absolutely killer. I don't know very many schools that do that, but man, you've got like the family thing going on. But you're kind of going like this. Pandemic hits, and it's not like, okay, so even my insurance agency, we went paperless. We're completely hands off. We're doing Messenger and FaceTime appointments with clients, and we can still take payments and all these other things. I can still give you a quote and that sort of thing. Your business, you can't really do a Zoom meeting. You really can't do a Zoom class or a Messenger or a FaceTime type of thing, and you don't have takeaway business. And so how has that been, and how have you been able to transition right now during this time?
So, I've been training a lot with my wife, Lindsay. So we've been going to the school pretty much every day. At the beginning, we were one technique a day. So, I've got one technique a day. That it could be a simple takedown. It could be a self-defense technique. It could be just a technique. And I've been sharing that to my Monroe Jiu-Jitsu page or to an instant messenger. I haven't jumped into the world of Zoom classes yet. I know some jiu-jitsu schools are doing Zoom classes. I think those are really difficult in these times. Not to say that they're wrong, because I know a lot of the upper level guys are doing that. I'm staying in touch, saying, guys, stay fit, get out for your mile walk, get out for your run, go to Munson Park, get your push-ups in. I'm doing the Monroe Jiu-Jitsu push-up challenge.
I was just going to bring that up.
Yeah, I mean, even though some days I only do like 10, some days I do 50, some days I do 100, but I just want Monroe Jiu-Jitsu to be in my students' face, so then they can get up and do one thing that's going to help them that day, and they can think about jiu-jitsu. And if I throw a technique at them here and there, then they're like, man, it's still there. It's, my Monroe Jiu-Jitsu family's still there. Todd's still working hard for me. And that's really how I've been trying to stay engaged with my students, because what are we going on, 50 days?
50, yeah.
About 50 days, right? So every single day I'm doing a Monroe push-up, Monroe Jiu-Jitsu push-up challenge, and I'm sending them something to keep them inspired. But as far as starting back, that's the big question for what I do. Because I've heard, I'm trying not to watch the news that much, because it's just.
I'm with you there. I'm with you there.
Yeah. So, but I have heard like restaurants, maybe this is wrong, maybe it's right. I don't know. Do they know? I don't know if they know either. But, they're saying 25% this, and they're giving you guys a plan a little bit. With jiu-jitsu, it's so hands-on, because it's like a wrestling-based martial art. And for the audience that doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu, think about wrestling. That's kind of what jiu-jitsu is for the viewer that doesn't know anything about jiu-jitsu. So it's really tight quarters. So moving forward, I've been thinking about like Monroe Jiu-Jitsu conditioning programs to start, where we do specific movements. I'm also thinking about like breaking the gym up into 4 areas. So once you come in with your family, who you've been quarantined with, that you'll only work with that specific group until the restrictions, guidelines, whatever it's called, laws, what is it? Laws, guidelines.
I guess guidelines. And I was thinking about you too, because I know, like Planet Fitness, they're going to be able to open up here soon. And, they're going to have their gym equipment spread out and, taped off. So, they're 6 feet apart, that sort of thing. You're right. How does the small independent gym like yours adhere to these things? So I like what you're saying so far.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying, I'm going to do everything I can, like, even if it the first couple months to say, hey guys, we're going to do all hands off drills that's going to help your jiu-jitsu. So I'll come up with like 12 different drills or 20 different drills that I've done over the last 18 to 19 years of jiu-jitsu. So I have my ideas in my head, but as of right now, we're still on that holding pattern. But in my brain, I'm full steam ahead in my brain. Because I'm like, we're going to get this thing going. Even if we got to go to Munson Park and separate and do tackle the invisible man, double leg the invisible man, whatever you got to do, we're going to get it going. And because it's such a, it's hard to explain as well the connection I have with my students that, they're just ready, man. They're in the starting blocks like, coach, let's go. But I'm like, we're going to go when the time is right. I'm going to have some things in place for you to go to the next step. Because that's always been my thing too as a coach. We're on this step. We're going to we're not going back. We're going to keep going up. And that's what we're going to do after this. That's what we're going to do.
All right. So here's the time. I got 2 questions for you. All right. Last 2 questions. If you had one piece of advice for someone that's just starting out, so they've never taken a class in their life, they're just starting out, what would that advice be?
Just start. So they're basically going to Google and they punch in jiu-jitsu and they walk in my door. And they've never watched Ultimate Fighter. They've never watched UFC. None of
them. They know nothing. They're walking in blind. Like, what is this place?
I'm just making sure because you have the guys because you have the guys that come in and they think they know.
Right.
But they don't know.
Right.
So to the normal Google person that comes in and opens the door up, the first thing I do is I greet them with a smile and I make it inviting when you come to Monroe Jiu-Jitsu. So, because it's so scary at first, because if you do one YouTube, it's funny to me, like you do one YouTube of Jiu-Jitsu, right? It's Hoist Gracie breaking a dude's arm, right? It's like,
true enough. Yeah.
UFC, whatever, like whatever. So not that's, for us, it's like, oh man, that's a good, he did strategy and it was amazing.
Right.
But for the normal person, that can be scary. So what I do is I say, hey, come on in. I'm going to show you some drills, no sparring. You can watch the class. Actually, a lot of times the first class, I just have them sit down and see how much fun everybody's having, right? How many people are laughing, the techniques that they're learning. And then we'll get into the self-defense side. Because I think for a beginner, the most important part about jiu-jitsu, and it should be at all schools, but a lot of schools don't do it this way. The most important thing is your personal safety and using jiu-jitsu to help you if you ever ended up in a bad spot where it could be a hands-on confrontation. That's what I want to plant the seed in at first. After they get comfortable with that, like this scenario, this situation, somebody grabs you, somebody tries to punch you, somebody tries to pull you somewhere. Once we go through that, which could take a long, 6, 9, really it goes on forever with those type of techniques. Then they kind of get bit by the bug of sport jiu-jitsu. So then you start going into, hey, you're interested in doing a tournament? Oh, okay. Well, we have some other classes that you can come to and you can start understanding what points are and how you can get an advantage or what tournaments are even available and what weight divisions and all that. So I kind of break it down that way for the beginner. 1, you're going to learn how to be safe and learn some self-defense skills through the great art of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then 2, if you want to expand your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, then we could talk about tournaments and putting you into an arena to excel in that environment.
Yeah, because I can say this, and I'm gonna before I ask my last question, I have to say you have created, there's like healthy competition, and then there's like the McDojo competition where it's just not healthy at all, right? You have done a great job of fostering healthy competition, even within the gym itself, because a lot of my teammates have actually, text messaged me or like, where you at? Why aren't you on the mat? It's Saturday, open roll. Let's go. Or, hey, Sunday's open roll. Like, where are you at? And it really is. It's like the whole crew is motivating each other. And, that stems from you. I mean, it comes from the top, just like anything else. It starts at the top and it filters its way down. All right. So,
and as you know, on that point real fast, it's like, I think when people see that, the passion that I have for jiu-jitsu, what happens if you're in a good school, and you mentioned earlier, Detroit Jiu-Jitsu, Toledo Jiu-Jitsu, GF team, I could go on. There's some great schools in Michigan, great schools in Northern Ohio, and they have also created the environment where the student goes home. Actually, they don't even go home. They go into the parking lot and go, I don't want to miss, I never want to miss a class because they feel like they're getting behind. And that's the school you want to go to. You know, if you go into an environment where people are hurting each other, and there are some schools out there that, you know, the rough, tough, you know, you got to spar every round. Yeah, you know, I've been there. You've been there.
Yeah.
That's not the business model of a successful school.
Right.
And I think what we've seen with, you know, Danny at Detroit, Blanky and Toledo, those type of students, Dion, you know,
Deion Thompson,
Thompson at Braza, you know, those are the schools where their students, man, they do not want to miss a class because they love being there with their jiu-jitsu family.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I have to make this point too. You told a story on Facebook recently about a race that you had, and I had a great takeaway from it. But a race where you went down and trained with somebody and it was snowing and you guys had to pull the door open. Can you retell that story real quick and everything that happened there? Because I don't want to mess it up, but then I'll tell you my takeaway from that story.
So the story in 1995, and the reason I brought the story up is I thought about like isolation. For some reason, I was just sitting here one day thinking about isolation. I'm like, you know, and some of the things that we think about during this time, it's like, what? And so there was a guy, one of my great friends, I can't say guy, one of my great friends, Bob Kennedy, who's probably one of the best United States distance runners of all time. He was the first American to break 13 minutes for 5K. Not many of the viewers know what that means, but it's fast to break 13 minutes for 5K. It's like 4:10 a mile for 3 miles straight without stopping, or faster than that.
Wow.
But anyway, Bob and I started competing against each other in high school. Bob went to Westerville High School in Ohio, and we competed at Mansfield Relays one time. And I went to Tennessee, and then he graduated a year after me, so he goes to IU, Indiana University, and him and I just connected, like different personalities. He's a little bit, you know, well, actually a lot quieter than I am because I'm pretty, you know, he's kind of that. But for some reason, we just meshed really well. Even though we wanted to beat each other's butt when we raced each other, great friends off the track and off the cross-country course. And so after we signed professional contracts to run, he ran for Nike, I ran for Adidas. You know, he invited me up to train to get ready for the 95 season. So I go up to Bloomington in the winter, and he's like, you know, we're going to get the training session in today. He kind of questioned it a little bit. And I'm like, because there's a bad snowstorm. And I'm like, yeah, we are going to get the training session. And no matter what, we got to get snowshoes on. We got to get moon boots on. Whatever we got to do, we're going to get to that indoor track. So we go over to the indoor track, and he had a way to get into the Indiana University indoor track. So went to this back area, pull the door open, and snow's drifted up against. No coaches there, just Bob and I. You know, at that time we were kind of 1-2 in the United States as in discipline. Open up the door, get in there, and all you could hear are the emergency lights, like that buzz sound.
Yeah.
So there was enough light where you could see the indoor track. And, you know, and I'm like, we were supposed to do 3 times a mile with 3 minutes recovery, just him and I banging it out, thinking about our goals, thinking about how we wanted to be Olympic champions. We wanted to be one of the best, you know, 2 of the best runners in the world. And we start hammering these miles, right? The first one's at about 4:12, take 3 minutes recovery. Then we run a 4:10. And Bob will tell you, like, if he was here right next to me, he's like, you wanted to beat me every time, didn't you? And I'm like, every time. Every training session. I don't care. Warm-ups, warm-downs, jumping jacks. I wanted to beat him. So I beat him on the last interval, right? I run 4:07. I left him. He was like 3 seconds back. And I'm like, in my head, and I never you know, I didn't like go in your face or anything, but I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I'm going to get him. Because in competition, he had beat me a lot up until that point, almost every time besides in high school. He beat me in college every time. And so in my head, I'm like, I finally have got him mentally and physically where he knows now that I can get him.
Yeah.
So I leave Bloomington. We had a great training together. You know, we both healthy. So fast forward to the Prefontaine 2 mile in Eugene, or at the University of Oregon. And we were going for the American record, the best 2 mile ever in the United States. Him and I were going to go for it. They paid us a lot of money to go there for. It was on CBS. It was a big, big deal. And gun goes off. And I'm like, I'm going to get him. And 2 mile was his specialty too. It wasn't my specialty. I went to him because I wanted to beat him. So we go through the mile in like 4:08. got 1 mile to go. And I'm like, I'm feeling great. I got about a half mile to go. I'm like, I start grinding. And then last lap, he gets up on my shoulder. I'm like, oh, so I'm pushing. He beat right at the line. And you can actually watch this race on YouTube. You can connect it to the Zoom if you want to.
Yeah. I probably will.
Yeah. So it's come across the line, I believe, 8:14.53 to 8:14.50.
Wow.
And Bob, we're going on our warm down because after races you stretch out, you go for your warm down, and he basically had said in a nice way, he goes, if you can turn down your intensity this much in training, he goes, if you can turn down your intensity this much in training and take that to the races, you're going to be unstoppable. And what he was teaching me, because that's what he was saying about that work. Because in my mind, I'm like, man, just a few months ago, but what he was doing is he could pull it back just enough. But then when it was game day, he took it up to the next notch. And
yeah,
but I think the story, the reason I wanted to tell that story is like all of us right now are going through times in our head where should we do it? Could we do it? How do we do it? That was a day that it was, blowing wind and snow up against the door. It's just him and I in there just by ourselves. And we still took care of business and worked our butts off to try to accomplish the goal. And that's kind of that was the lesson of it. Not really to say that I ran 8:14.
Well, you know what? So here was my takeaway from that. When I read that story, I have been obsessing over, okay, during this shutdown time of COVID, how can I better position my business? That's all I've been thinking about. How can I revamp like the restaurant, for instance? How can we better position the restaurant for when it's time to open, for when it's race day? How can I better position myself? And even my insurance agency, how can we better position ourselves in the community? And what should we be doing now? I guess in training, what should we be doing now to retrain ourselves to better position ourselves for when the gun goes off and it's time to run and you got to get going? And that was my takeaway from that, man. I was like, wow, what a great story to talk about. Hey, don't kill yourself during this time. Don't burn yourself out during this training period. So when the gun goes off, you kind of get left behind, but train at a good pace, reposition yourself right now, get mentally prepared so that when the gun goes off, you're ready to roll. And so I love the story. And I love, that little ending where he told you, hey man, and I was like, wow, there's so many nuggets here. I could dissect this whole story for a whole nother episode because it was incredible. And I love that you shared it.
Yeah, it was a lot of good memories. I talked to Bob after that too, and he's like, "Man, the good old days, right?" Because we were on another podcast right after I told that. Actually, a coach from Miami of Ohio had his whole team on a Zoom, and Bob and I kind of told our stories together to keep his team motivated, which is that's what a lot of colleges have to do right now. So, with my connections over the years of college coaches, there's a lot of creative coaches out there right now that are doing some good stuff for their athletes and their universities and colleges as well. So I'm glad I could share that. I got some more up here. I'm just getting old.
Okay, so here's my last question. We'll wrap this up. What is one ask? And I do this with everyone. Every guest comes on the show. What is one ask that you would like from the community? What's one thing the community can keep doing to help continuing to build and boost your business?
My business?
Your business or any business, whatever you want. This is your time.
Well, this is what I was the way I like. I was thinking about, when I was putting my hats up here and doing all that, preparing my set. This is my set. The most important thing, the piece of it is try to wake up each day and do one thing. If you can do more than that, then that's great. But make a positive impact. If it's a phone call to a friend, if it's picking up some chips and salsa from Mamaya's, if it's going to Public House, if it's going to Pete's Garage and picking up chicken wings, which I saw, that's good. Michigan Bar, and I know that I'm gonna leave some out, and I'm sorry, but there's so many local businesses that us as a community, and I know some of us are struggling financially right now, right? There's some people that I don't have. I know I heard Todd say support. You don't have to maybe spend as much money as other people are spending in the community, but you can make some phone calls. You can say some positive things. There's a lot of people that I've deleted or I don't follow them anymore, any of this negative garbage. I say if it's on your social media platforms, say something positive. If it's your phone, call somebody and say, hey man, you can do it today. Get up and go for a run, go for a walk, go pick up something from this store, whatever it is that's locally owned. And that's my biggest piece of advice, man. Forget the negative crap. Help Monroe. If you're from some other place, then help your own community, wherever you're from. Stop talking negative. Stop thinking negative. Turn off the freaking news, and make it pop. And watch the Masters from 19. When did Jack Nicklaus win? 86.
86, man. Yeah, I think that was his last one, right?
I watched it last night. So
that's awesome.
That's my biggest thing. And it just doesn't have to be, when this gets rolling too, this really should reinforce how important small business, local community, and helping each other out and being positive. That's the takeaway when knock on wood, we get out of this thing sooner than later, is help your neighbors out, help your brothers and sisters out, and give them some encouragement.
Yeah. All right. Well, Todd, I know you've got a busy day watching some golf and keeping the wife happy. So, all right. So let's talk about the T-shirt. We'll end with that. I love your shirt. Stay safe. What's the back say, man?
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna have to turn around. I'm gonna take this here. Tell me, can you still see me?
I can still see you. Yes. Yeah, you're good.
All right. Now, for those kids at home, turn your head. Okay. Can you see it?
I can. Yes, we can see. We can see that.
Yeah, because that's the other thing too. Is like you don't have to. With all these guidelines with masks and 6 feet back. I know it's tough. I know it's tough to do that, but I mean it is what it is, and just be safe. Just be safe.
Yeah.
I don't tell anybody what to do, but I'm just like, just be safe. Make smart decisions, and that's because I know a lot of people are on that fence too, where they're like, I'm not going to listen, and I'm not doing this, and all I can tell you is be safe.
Yep. Well, I appreciate you, my friend. Thanks for taking time out for me this morning, and I can't wait to get back on the mat with you and get smashed.
Hey, I miss you, man. I miss you on the mat, and I'll be. Me. I'm about every Monday or Tuesday chips and salsa.
Oh yeah.
So I'll see you tomorrow, probably.
Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you soon.
Make that salsa extra hot for tomorrow.
Absolutely. You got it.
All right, dude. Hey, go Monroe.
Yeah, man. We'll see you.
All right, brother. See you, bud.